Okay, so to begin this career counseling session, let's start by you introducing yourself.
My name is Crystal Wells. I'm 33. I live in Eastern Kentucky. I grew up here in Eastern Kentucky. I have one daughter. Her name is Kinley, and I graduated from Eastern Kentucky University in 2008. I'm a sign language interpreter. That's about it.
Okay, tell me something about yourself, something that you would say is important that you would want me to know to better understand you.
I grew up with deaf grandparents. I think that had a lot to do with my upbringing, as far as my dad was a CODA, which means he's the child of a deaf adult. So he, I think, did things a little bit differently than some other hearing people do. So people may think that I'm blunt or that I'm outspoken about a lot of things, but it's really just because that's how I was raised, that you kind of tell things the way they are.
Okay. What type of occupations were you aware of growing up?
Growing up, not really a lot. Probably just doctors and nurses and teachers, firefighters, hairdressers. My dad's a hairdresser. Actually, there's lots of hairdressers in my family, so.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your work experiences, past, present, maybe ones that you liked, didn't like.
My very first job was at Fashion Bug. It's a clothing store. I don't even think they have those anymore. I didn't like it at all. And then in college, I worked I was a student aide in the nursing department. And I actually started off in college, I thought that I wanted to be a nurse or something in the medical field. And after working in the nursing department and seeing the stress that those students had, I realized that that was not something that I wanted for myself. And then, let's see, what else have I done? I was a lifeguard. That was a really cool job because I got to sit in the sun and get paid for it. I was a server at the Outback, and that was cool. I got to meet a lot of people, and I really enjoyed that. Made pretty decent money. Then I went to college to be an interpreter, and I started working for an interpreting agency in Danville, Kentucky, and I was a staff interpreter there, and that was a fabulous job. I got more experience than I will ever be able to account for in that position. And now I'm a sign language interpreter at Carl D. Perkins Vocational Training Center. It is a training center under the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and I just interpret for the deaf clients that we have here.
What is something that's important to you in your career?
Probably helping people. I mean, it's kind of a given as an interpreter. That's what I do. I help people. Making sure that people kind of get equal access, I guess, and communication is huge, and I can provide that. So that's really important to me. I guess the hours that I work, that's really important to me too, because I have a daughter, so I really want to make sure that I can spend a lot of time with her too.
What would you say is not important in your job?
Not important. Dress code. I don't know. I mean, there's really not a lot of things I can think of that aren't important. I think that I can't imagine anything isn't really important.
Right. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your background, your level and place of education, your background, your geographic area, cultural and ethnic background? Just kind of touch on those for me.
Well, like I said, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, a small town. And then I went to college in Richmond, Kentucky, which is not huge, but much larger than Paintsville. And that was kind of a culture shock to me. I also mentioned that my grandparents were deaf, and that I feel like had a lot to do with my upbringing, just in general.
Any religious or spiritual background, and how is that important in your life?
Yeah, it's very important in my life. It's.
Sorry, we need a table.